Did you hear what said?
Did you hear what said?
Did you hear what said?
And here we go. Thomas. What's up, man?
How you doing, brother?
I'm good, dude. It's good to have you on.
Yeah, it's about time, huh?
Yeah, you were supposed to be one of my... Which one? One of the earlier ones, and it was going to be almost a little rushed, but, you know, things happen. Couldn't make it happen. Now we're making it happen.
Yeah.
But you're here, and we're doing it, man. I'm actually really happy to have you on, dude. This is going to be fun.
Well, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, dude. So getting into it, let's start off with a little bit of a background about you. So for those that don't know who Thomas Morgan is, who is Thomas?
Well, Thomas has changed drastically over the years.
There you go.
As you've known me since we were very small kids, and you know, young Thomas was a very hot-headed, very egotistical person, very full of himself. And now I think Thomas, at least in my opinion, is more like humbled, more grounded, not so hot-headed anymore. It's not constantly angry all the time. He's more sure of himself in the sense that he knows who he is. He knows what he wants to go towards now. And I feel like I'm slowly going towards the goals that I actually want to set forward or set for myself.
Right. How'd that all start? So let's go back to, so what do you do for a living?
So what I do for a living, I'm in the United States Army. I'm a staff sergeant now. And currently just waiting on board results, which I'll find out in early February if I become a warrant officer or not.
Yeah.
I know for the vast majority of people, they probably won't know what that is, but it's basically it's an in-between grade between enlisted personnel and then commissioned people, which are like officers, which you're currently like most people are accustomed to seeing, like captains, that kind of stuff, seeing in movies.
Yeah.
Warrant officer are in between the two. They're technically more sound or technically proficient. That's what they're supposed to be for. They're supposed to be, you're more technical than enlisted, and you're more technical than officers. Officers are more towards the administrative side, policy, like management. So I guess like to put that into a more understandable term is like that would be like your regional manager of a show.
Okay.
And then your like enlisted people, that would just be like your clerks, your operators, your secretaries, that kind of thing. And you know, a warrant officer would fit into where that's like your CFO type thing. It's more like you're specialized in an area, and that's what a warrant officer really is.
Okay. Well, what area exactly is a specialty?
So they vary. So every like specialty in the Army, like we call them MOSs. And my MOS currently is I'm a 25 hotel. Breaking that down, it's basically a jack of all trades, master of none. It's kind of like how we kind of have uniforms right now. They're known to be that. I was originally at 25 Quebec, and then recently, as of October, they converged a bunch of the MOSs in the military for the communications field, and they put them into one MOS to kind of not have, you know, you just have people who run cables like a 25 Lima, or you just have Quebecs who are supposed to be multi-transmission systems maintainer operators, long title for normally STT operators. So we work with satellites to connect them to another satellite so we can get tactical internet.
Yeah.
It kind of mesh us together to where we're supposed to be able to do a little bit of everything. And that's where I'm currently at. Well, what I'm going for in warrant officer is called a 255 November, and they're most commonly known as like network technicians, and they're the person who's in charge of like planning, orchestrating, and actually creating networks for the military. So we might get a mission and they want to create they want a specific type of architecture, and we'll be in charge of like, you know, planning that and building that for them for that mission.
Interesting. So, taking it back to when you first started, thank you for your service, by the way.
Appreciate the support.
Gotta always, yeah, always thank your servicemen. So taking it back to the beginning, you were talking about how Thomas is. It's a funny question, right? Because it's changed a lot throughout the years.
Definitely.
I've known you for a long time, since 8 years old, since we were kids, and you have changed. So you said you weren't always like that. And did the military have anything to do with that?
Oh, definitely.
And what brought you? Well, when you were younger, prior to the military, how were you? What was your thought process like? What was your work ethic like? What were some of those things that you thought that weren't? What you were saying is like the bad tempers. What do you think was like causing that? And
So I think, like, just to answer that question in like chronological order. When I was a kid, I was very hard on myself. I always demanded, like, I needed to be the best. I had to perform the best. I could, like, from our perspective, we were always playing baseball together. Me, you, Mike, Nate, and like anytime I'd strike out, whether it was a good call, bad call, didn't matter.
Yeah,
I was
dude.
really, really hard on myself.
I remember.
I never wanted to be out. I always wanted to at least get a base hit, and then, like, if I didn't, it just seemed like it was like the end of the world for me.
Yeah.
It just seemed like like nothing can console me. I was in my head. It was, you're not good enough. You're never gonna be good enough. If you can't hit off this pitcher who isn't the best and that you've ever faced, and you can't even hit off of them, then what makes you think you're gonna make it? And I just feel like I always had like that, like that me being that hard on myself was what caused me to have more anger. I was already like kind of like, I don't want to really say like an angry kid, but because I never really was. It was just that, like, because I was hard on myself, I became more angry, and when I became angry, I just kind of like lashed out. I kicked out of like multiple daycares because, like, I would just let my temper get the best of me, and I was like a really short fused kid, and like the smallest things would like make me angry. Whether it was, I was playing with a toy and another person took it away, and I just felt like, this is mine, even though it wasn't. But because I was playing with it, it belonged to me, and if somebody took it, then it was like they were taking something from me, and I would lash out at them. And sometimes I get physical, sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes I would just get angry and like go hide under a blanket or something, but be so mad I would just cry.
Yeah.
And it's I'm glad I went through it, because now that I have kids and I see that sometimes they have like those temper tantrum type things, like it's easier for me to deal with.
Kind of see yourself a little bit.
I definitely see myself. It's definitely hard to teach the kid out, the you out of your kid. And,
I wouldn't know, but
yeah.
I'd imagine there's people who can relate to that.
I'm sure. But going forward, I really started to really change, and that was because of the military.
When did you join?
I joined right out of high school. We graduated in May, and I left in July.
We were 17? Were you 17?
I had already turned 18.
Already turned 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I joined right out of high school, like 2 months after, 3 months after graduation, and went off to basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And that's where it really hit me. I went into basic training with the same type of mentality that I always had. It wasn't as bad as when I was like 10 or 12, and sometimes a little bit younger than that. But I was still very hot-headed and very like, I had to be the man. I had to be like the toughest of the person there, that kind of thing. And I went there, and I got humbled pretty quickly. So basically giving like a brief backstory of how it happened is, one day our entire company got in trouble, and we were made to sleep outside. And I was already asleep by the time we were instructed to grab our mattress, grab our blanket, and grab our rifle and our Camelback, and we had to go outside. So we all went outside to the square, and we had to find a place to sleep. And I was, complaining and, just, really just complaining for no reason. I mean, we got in trouble for less, and I didn't complain. But that night, just tired already, doing a lot of exercises, going here, going there, whatever that day entailed. And one of the people that I went to base training with, he told me to stop complaining, and used some other words in there too. But
right.
told me to stop complaining, and I just took it personally. And we got into like a little scuffle.
Well, it's the words, if you don't mind saying them, so you can be a little bit raw to it, so people understand that it ain't all so pretty, because it's your story. You know what I mean? This is what changed Thomas, because these people don't know who you are, and the person that they're seeing is a person who understands himself and who has worked on himself a whole lot, and you've done a 180, dude, as we pretty much most of us all have, right? Definitely. So walk us through that little conversation. So y'all are outside, y'all are told to go outside, right?
Yeah.
And what was the purpose of that, to go outside?
So the whole story is and I was trying to keep it PG as well. I wasn't saying the whole thing, but
yeah, go for it, because the people need to understand, like, this is what happens. Yeah. It's not all sunshine and roses.
Definitely not.
So, because you had back then, it was like even when we would go play in the field and go play football or something, like Pratt and them, and it was like, you were just very competitive, you know what I mean? And then if things didn't go your way, that we would feel the attitude, but we all obviously just boys, egos, pride, testosterone, all that stuff's built up. But then so go, because a lot of people go through that, and they don't do something about it. So you join the military, you're there how long were y'all there at this time when this happened?
We're probably around week 3, maybe week 3 going into week 4.
So you're in the 3rd, 4th week. You're coming from, this reality of world, and you decide to hop into the military, and now you're here. You got some guy telling you y'all need to go sleep outside, and I don't think most of us would like that. Yeah. And so you're having an issue with that, and then pick it up from there.
All right, so we were instructed to go outside because one of the bays was not clean. They were instructed the day before to make sure that bay was clean.
Yeah.
When drill sergeants walked in to do their checks that night, it wasn't clean. Brought everybody outside to sleep outside, because that was going to be the punishment if it wasn't clean.
Right.
So we're instructed to go outside.
Did they tell you that?
Yeah.
Or,
well,
y'all just know.
They told it was the female barracks, so they told the female bay, hey, if this isn't clean, then the entire company's gonna sleep outside. And they didn't tell the rest of the platoons that the females were broken up into each. We had 4 platoons. Females are broken up into the 4 platoons, but only females sleep in the female bay, and all the males sleep in all the other bays.
Okay, gotcha.
And so they told the females that inside their bay, but they don't tell the rest of the platoon that, because it doesn't really apply to the majority of the formation.
It's not your place. Yeah. You're not going to be there anyways.
Yeah. As a male, I couldn't go into the female bay and clean it for them.
Right.
So they were told to clean it. They didn't clean it. Or at least it wasn't to the drill sergeant standards. They didn't actually tell us what was wrong or anything like that. But it wasn't to the standard, so they made everybody sleep outside.
Right.
So me and one of the guys in my platoon, we were outside. I was complaining, and he told me, stop complaining like a bitch. And like I said, I took it personally. And when I said we got into a scuffle, and things got physical, I put my hands on him. I pushed him down. And as I was going towards him to get on top of him and start throwing punches, one of my drill sergeants walked up to us, and he was a drill sergeant on the desk that night. Came up to me, grabbed me by the shirt, pulled me away, brought me into the drill sergeant's little house thing that they have.
Right.
It's in the middle of everything.
Right.
And he told me, he's like, because you got physical with him, I could have you arrested. And I mean, me being at the time, I was still angry. I just didn't care. I was just.
Could imagine.
Yeah.
I knew you at that point in your life at that time, so I could imagine. Yeah, you probably didn't. Yeah. To you, consequences were just whatever.
They were an afterthought.
Yeah, it's
when I was angry, that's the only thing that mattered to me.
Yeah,
was me being angry. And he's like I said, he went inside the the little house, and he sat me down, and he was like, I could have you arrested.
Yeah.
And he told me, he's like, but you wouldn't be going to like just a regular jail. Yeah, you'd be out of the military, but you'd be going to a military jail.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me he was that, the reason why he wouldn't call the military police or MPs, just in case I say MPs later for any reason, but why he said he wouldn't call them is because I reminded him of himself. And just to give a little background about this drill sergeant, the entirety of my basic training, he would smoke our platoon every single day. It didn't matter because I wouldn't have my patrol cap or my PC parallel to the marching.
Yeah, when you say smoke, what do you mean? For people who don't know the terminology.
So when I say smoke, I mean that he would make us do push-ups, sit-ups, flutter kicks, front back goes, the 8-count push-ups. Like if you can name an exercise, we were doing them. And it was because my PC was not parallel to the marching surface, and I would have other people check it. I would have the entire male bay check it, and they'd be like, "Yeah, we're good to go. Let's go." We'd form up. He'd literally call us all to attention. We stand there. It wouldn't matter where I was in the formation. He would walk straight to me, look at it, and be like, "Still not good enough."
Was this before or after the incident?
The entire time. It was before and after.
So before and after, he was always just constantly like, if y'all out of uniform, or even if y'all uniform was checked, you look good, everything looked good, y'all double, triple, quadruple checked. He was still like, no, y'all did it wrong, punishment.
Yeah.
Or
it's one of those things where it's just like, breaking you down, building you up to, being, conformity, I guess I don't even know if that's a word, but
I mean, almost in the sense of kind of what you're going through now, like just to weed out the ones who are gonna.
Yeah, who wants to be there and who doesn't.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And so like I said, he was, even with all the PC not being parallel, that kind of stuff, he told me, he's like, you remind me of me. Whenever I came into the military, he came from Puerto Rico. He was very hot-headed, very stubborn. Everything was about him, and he said that he saw a lot of me and like a lot of him and me, and that he was gonna give me this chance, but there was no more. Like you either get with it or get lost. And it was just once I calmed down and I went back outside and I laid down on my bed and I was just remember staring up, and we were under like a tin roof or whatever. So I mean, I wasn't looking at stars or anything, but I'm just looking up, staring at the ceiling. And I was just thinking like, man, like one day my actions are gonna get me in some serious trouble that I might not have an escape for. And that really was the moment where it kind of just hit me, where like I kind of need to get my act together. And I mean, progressively throughout my time in the military, I've just kind of let my anger like go. It's really not worth being angry and getting myself in trouble. And yeah, I might feel satisfaction for a very short time because I got my revenge or whatever the case is.
Right.
But that's short-lived for who knows how long of a consequence. It could just be something as in I get kicked out the military, or it could be something as serious as you go away to prison, and really no actions are really worth that type of consequence.
Right.
So that's really kind of how that was really like the defining moment, at least in my opinion, that's kind of made me go from being like super hot-headed young kid to more towards what I am now.
And so, and who would you say that you are now?
I would say now I'm more humbled. I'm more driven to actually obtain the goals that I set for myself. Before, I always had unrealistic goals and expectations for myself. Like I said, I would always want to be the best. I had to be like the toughest. I had to, I could never make a mistake, and couldn't even just strike out in a game without getting angry. Now I realize that, yes, I might have a really high goal, but there are certain steps I have to take to even, really make moves to get there.
Right.
Like if I want to go run a marathon, I'm not going to be able to just be like, oh, well, I'll just sign up for the marathon on January 15th. And I've never ran that type of distance a day in my life and go out there and just run it.
Mm-hmm.
Not many people can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So there's
But
certain,
that's how you used to think.
That's
You
how I
used to
used to
have
think,
to,
yeah.
like, in a metaphorical sense, you used to have these unrealistic goals, and then that
almost
you
like
didn't
a God complex.
you
or-
didn't understand, which is what a lot of people do. They don't understand that there is a process, and you need to enjoy the process more than you enjoy the result or the success. Like,
and it's funny because I think it was the Philadelphia 76ers. They kept saying, you gotta trust the process, trust
Yeah.
the process.
for years, it's still the process.
Yeah, and I was always like, that's dumb. Like,
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense to me. Like, trust the process. What process? It hasn't worked for you yet. So what's the point?
Yeah.
And then as I think I've even matured, even past puberty and that kind of stuff. But I've matured mentally. I realized that trusting the process, it's not, 1% better every day is an actual thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where, I might not, I might set a goal for myself on, let's just say midpoint of the year in July,
Mm-hmm.
but I might not hit it, but as long as I do what I need to do to at least, work towards getting it,
Mm-hmm.
I might not hit it in July. I might hit it in August.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe I'll hit it in December.
Mm-hmm.
But, slow and steady progress will still get you there eventually. And that's the thing that I think I really needed to learn the most from, when I was a kid to now. And I really think that even if I was to be able to go back to, 8, 10, 12-year-old me and sit down and try to have a conversation with him, he wouldn't be ready to, receive that message.
Mm-hmm.
Because it took, years of getting angry and having these issues and seeing consequences that, did happen
Mm-hmm.
for me to realize that, one day I'll get into a situation that I can't get out of.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
you need to be in the right mental space and in the right time to receive a type of message than just being able to be like, oh yeah, I wish I could go back and tell myself that just do this and you'll be okay. Because I don't think that's really something that most people would actually be successful in doing.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they could go back in time and do that. I don't think their younger selves would listen. I think they'd just be like, oh, this is just another person telling me some stuff that, it's going to go in one year out the other, and I'll move on with my life and do the same thing I'm doing.
Another elder
Yeah.
thinking he knows best.
Yeah.
Get away from me, Grandpa.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, what do you know? I know the world. I know everything. I have it right at the fingertips now. You
Yeah.
know, with phone and stuff. Like, what are you gonna tell me? I don't already know.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's. Let's go to what brought you to. So that's the defining moment that, kind of sparked, and thankfully some people would have been in that and would have stayed the same. Some people would have been like, yeah, whatever, man. I'm still sticking to. I mean, you're only 3 or 4 weeks out of high school. Oh, not 3 or 4 weeks. You're already about a month or 2 out of high school, 3 to 4 weeks into the military. Some people don't take that smack in the face, which we're all presented at a certain point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is all presented a choice that smacks you in the face like that, and how you take that punch and decide what are you going to do with it. For instance, like, not to take to that extent, but like for a cheater, like if you get caught cheating on your wife after however many years, like, and she forgives you and says, hey, whatever, you have a decision. And what decision are you going to make? You're going to, forgive yourself and not hold on to it and then go live the right life and live for that person, or you're just going to keep being that person? There's a lot of like instances, right, that hit you, and it's like, are you ready to change your life? Are you ready to turn this around? Because God, more or less in my eyes, God has presented you with this, whether God is known and present in your life, but life is giving you a decision to make, all in all. And you took that route of, looking up at the 10, looking up at the stars, right? Gazing into your thoughts of, it made you humble yourself and really think, how do I really want to pursue and continue my life? What do I want in life? So with that being said, what brought you to go to the military in high school? What was like? Hey, I think I want to go to the army. I think I want to join.
Well, I think it's more for me. It was more like it's like a family tradition type thing.
Okay.
It's not like deeply ingrained in the family,
Mhm.
but all the people that I've had in in my family per se, quote unquote, they've all joined the military. My uncle joined the military. My mother joined the military. My great uncle joined the military.
Mhm.
And even previously before them, the majority of the males in our family had joined the military.
Mhm.
I think it was just one of those things where I didn't really enjoy education. I wasn't bad at it. I just never, like as most kids, I never really applied myself to education.
Mhm.
So I didn't really see the necessity in me going to college right away because I didn't really have a true like goal in mind of like this is what I want to do, so this is how I'm gonna go study type thing.
Right.
I feel like I just would have been like another general student of going to probably San Jack or whatever, getting a general studies degree, and then trying to figure out what I wanted from there.
Mhm.
But I probably wouldn't have went through with it because I would have got bored at some point. Just been like, nah, I'm not gonna do this. I'll just find a job and work my way through.
Yeah.
And who knows where I'd be at now. But so, going with the family tradition type thing of joining the military,
Mhm.
I was 17, and it was right at the end of our junior year, maybe the beginning of our senior year.
Mhm.
I was starting to think about what am I going to do after this. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to go to UT or UTSA or wherever they're going to go.
Right. Right.
And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? And I was like, I'm going to join the military. So I went up to the recruiting station over in Deer Park and went in there and took like a little practice ASVAB or whatever.
Mhm.
And they were like, oh, yeah, you could do pretty well. We need to take you up to MEPS.
The ASVAB. It's explain what the ASVAB is.
So the ASVAB, I actually don't really remember what it actually stands for in general.
Mhm.
But the ASVAB is like a benchmark test of like general knowledge for people to like you're gonna cover like math and English and reading. You'll cover like mechanical stuff.
Mhm.
It covers like a broad range of things.
It's the Armed Service Vocational Aptitude Battery. It's a multiple aptitude battery that measure developed abilities and helps predict future academic.
And that test, like, it's graded like in a weird way. So like you get different like line scores or what they called, and the one that's like most important is called your GT score.
Okay.
And your GT score is a mix of your reading, your English, and it's your arithmetic.
Mm-hmm.
And I know math and arithmetic are like very similar, but on this ASVAB they're broken up separately. So when you take it, it's like you have like a math section, it's like general math. You have like arithmetic, it's like slightly different math, and then you have like your reading section.
Yeah.
And those three scores are combined, and that's what creates your GT score.
Okay.
And your GT score is normally what most MOSs like. They have like minimum scores for you to be able to like at this time apply for that job.
Right.
So at the time I only had when I went up to MEPS and I took my ASVAB, I got a 104 GT score. The normal Army standard type thing for like you to be able to do basically anything you want is a 110. I wasn't far off, but I just wasn't there. To be honest, I didn't really understand the importance of this ASVAB.
Mm.
It really wasn't like stressed to me like, hey, you have to do really well in this to give yourself opportunities. And which I ended up learning later on in my military career that you need a 110 for certain things, like becoming a warrant officer. So I had to go
would
back.
have been nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, would have been nice to know that. Yeah.
I had to go back and teach myself like 10th and 11th grade math and try to remember what like parallelograms were and teach myself all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Again.
but like you said, what if you now went back to that 17-year-old self and told him, hey, you need to get a 110 on that thing
Yeah.
because you might want to be a warrant officer one day or whatever.
Yeah.
That 17-year-old would have been like, Man, let me
Yeah.
just do the test
Yeah.
to get out of here.
Get out of here, man.
You're-
I don't
keep-
even know who you are. Get
I
out.
gotta go play games. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
So yeah, I got a 104 GT score,
yeah.
and they offered me like quite a few MOSs, and a few of them that, I was like, I don't even know what this is.
Mm-hmm.
And they offered me like this like water, like it was basically like a boat like when I say operator, I don't mean I'm the one driving the boat, but it was like basically like a boat operator, like maintainer. So like I said, they offered me this boat mechanic operator type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even remember the name of it or what the MOS was anymore, but I remember looking at it and I'm like, I could swim. I just don't really see the reason why I wouldn't join the Navy is because I don't want to ever find myself stuck in water. Like, if I'm gonna get stuck somewhere, I might as well have my feet on the ground if I can, run and get somewhere. In the water, you don't really have that option.
Yeah.
So I was like, definitely not for me. So they had offered me, what was it, 35 Mike, human intelligence collector, and I thought that sounded really cool. Human intelligence collector. I was like, what is that? And they told me like, oh, well, basically like you're gonna spend a lot of time like deployed or in infantry units where once people are either detained or captured, you'll be the one to like basically get the information from them or out of them, XYZ.
Interrogation.
Yeah, and that's how I took it. I was like, oh,
I get a waterboard somebody.
that's how I took it. I was like, man, that sounds great. And so I was like, I'll do that one.
Yeah.
He said, okay. And of course, at this time, like I said, I was still 17, so I had to have my mom come and sign for me, saying like, she gave permission for me to join.
Mm-hmm.
So we went all the way up to MEPS. I went through the whole process of, getting the medical training, getting blood drawn, and XYZ.
Right.
And I went to go sign the contract. And as the contract's in front of me, I remember looking at it, 35 Mike. And I'm like, cool. Like, let me just go ahead and sign this paper. We'll move on.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady says, actually, hold on. I was like, okay. And she says, your background just came back. Because they have to do a background check, because for 35 Mike, you need a top secret clearance, which means you have to have a background check. Even for secret clearance, you have to have a background check, but certain things are like acceptable.
Okay.
And me being 17, I still had a fight on my record from like the 7th or 8th grade. 7th grade, because I was still in Miller. And because of that fight, because I had to appear in court, I could not get the top secret clearance.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how I did not become a 35 Mike.
10 years later, and that bit you.
Well, that was
When you're
yeah,
sorry,
that
not
was-
10 years.
yeah.
I was thinking 7. 7th grade plus 5,
probably like
15.
5, 6
So
years.
yeah, so 6 years later. Sorry, 6 years later, and that bit you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Didn't occur to me. Didn't even occur to like my recruiter or anything like that to think like, hey, because it's a TS,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're gonna ask about this on my record. And so I had to leave MEPS. When I got outside, I called my recruiter. He came and picked me up. Went back to the MEP station, and I was like, so what's next? And he was like, well, you could wait till you're 18 and reapply, because then you won't be a minor, and you won't have to worry about it on the background check.
Okay, because it starts over.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, like that sounds fine. Like I was still 17. I was still like, I still had the whole senior year to go through.
Yeah.
And he was like, the only thing is if you wait, that job might not be there. Like the slot for you to take, it might not be there. And I didn't want to like risk anything. So I was like, okay, so what other jobs are there? So he showed me a lot of the 25 series, which is what I ended up going with anyway. But he showed me like 25 Bravo, and they're more like automations, like your help desk personnel, and just keeping it a buck with you. I told him the same thing I told him. I don't really think that's for me, because the only thing I knew about computers, they were for YouTube and porn. Right? Just keeping it a buck with you. So
Okay. Yeah.
If
That's
you want to edit
funny.
that out, that's fine. with
You're
me.
good, man.
You know,
Hey,
like I said, I'm gonna keep
it's
it a
a
buck
raw
with you.
thing. Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, 25.
I'm in.
25 Bravo was not for me.
Mhm.
He showed me November, and November.
I'm so sorry. Thomas, I love you, dude.
Hey,
Just because you're always like that. You're just like honestly, bro, that's not, you'll straight up say, hey, that's just not for me. Like, I'm not even, even if I wanted to, I could never.
yeah. And that's what
Yeah.
I told him. I was like, hey, I'm gonna
That's
keep it
so
real
funny.
with you.
Uh-huh.
Computers are really for YouTube and porn. That's all I know. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to work with a computer. I don't know how to click
You're
buttons and
17,
do all this
man.
stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't like a prodigy hacker.
Thinking about like routing and stuff like that,
Yeah.
it was just like not even a
Wasn't
thought.
e-
To
wasn't even
most 17-year-olds, it's not. You
Yeah.
know, so. It's
Yeah, so he
nothing.
showed me November, which is more about networking and that kind of thing. And I told him, I
Yeah.
was like, again, don't know anything about routers, don't know anything about switches, don't know anything about firewalls and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Foreign concept,
Right.
not for me.
Right.
So then he showed me 25 Quebec. And what it looked like was basically like you're just sitting in like a shelter and you're just like doing like, you're messing with radios or, flipping switches and that kind of thing. And I was like, looks easy enough. It gets me in the door and, I'll just work with it from there.
Mhm.
He was like, yeah, he's like, if you take this one, he's like, this is where the recruiter part of him got me. And like I said, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. He got me with one of the most famous recruiting lines, which is, once you do this, then you can get your 35 mic after a year of being in the Army.
Mhm.
Sounded really good. I was like, oh, only after a year. I only have to spend like 9 weeks in basic, and then I spent another 33 weeks in AIT, which is Advanced Individual Training, for being a 25 Quebec
Mhm.
that I was signing up to be.
Mhm.
And then I can go do that. I was like, well, I'll get there, I'll go to my first unit, and just be like, hey, I want to be a 35 mic, and I'll go do that. Come to find out, that's not how the Army works. You don't just you can't just wait a year and go. You have to re-enlist to become a different MOS or a different job. But nonetheless, I signed up to be at 25 Quebec, and that's how I really got into the IT field. Was I went to be at 25 Quebec, thinking I was just gonna flip switches and plug different things in here and there and mess with certain radios, and
Yeah.
that was it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice. That's led you to where you are now.
Yeah, so now I guess became a 25 Quebec, went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and then from Fort Jackson, South Carolina, I went to AIT, and I was at Fort Gordon, Georgia. Was there for a long time due to an alcohol-related incident. It's a story for another time.
You good?
Way too long to talk about right now,
Yeah.
especially with the time already.
You good?
But was there for a long time, and then I got orders to go to Hawaii 3 straight times, and because I was a holdover at Fort Gordon, all of those orders got kicked back.
Yeah.
And then on the 4th time, when I finally got released from my punishment from the alcohol-related incident,
Mhm.
then I got orders to Fort Hood, and went to Fort Hood, then did a rotation into South Korea over at Camp Casey, right near the DMZ. It's like 20 minutes from it.
So you're in South Korea, and then where'd you go from South Korea?
From South Korea, because it was a rotation, it
Mhm.
wasn't like a piece. Like, it's not like I left Fort Hood and went to South Korea. It was like our whole brigade from Fort Hood went. So we rotated back to Fort Hood, and then I re-enlisted, and I went to Grafenwehr, Germany, and that was in 44th Expeditionary Signal Battalion. That was, like I said, that was in Grafenwehr, Germany. And then about 2 years after I got there, the battalion moved from Grafenwehr to Baumholder, Germany. Basically went from East Germany to West Germany, all the West. And, spent some time there.
Mhm.
And Germany's a beautiful country. Really didn't like the unit. They had really good processes and policies in the unit, but the leadership was god awful.
Mhm.
If you can think of toxic leadership, that was my time, at least my time in 44th ASB. And then I left. I was literally 1 month away from ETSing. I didn't want anything to do with the Army anymore. I was burnt out. Like the unit.
I'm not military sounded. ETSing, as I'm assuming what you just say, like getting out of it.
Yeah, it's just getting out of the Army.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I was fed up with it. Like that unit just burned me out. The leadership there just destroyed my will to want to stay in the military.
Yeah.
And it was honestly my wife that was just like, basically give it one more shot. Like let's go, let's get back to the States, and if at least then you can be inside the States whenever you're getting out. That way you're not having to like go back to the States and then try to find a job. At least if you're getting out, you're already here in the States. It's easier to network yourself and try to get a job here in the States, because I'll be coming back here anyway. So I was like, you know what, that's fine. So I was like 1 month away from getting out of the Army, ETSing.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I re-enlisted.
Was this your, is this current?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for those that don't know, I have been married twice.
Mm-hmm.
To my first wife, I had my first son, and then we divorced, and now I'm with my current wife and my last wife, guaranteed.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, she is.
So because I figured, when you told me to stay in, that sounds like something she would say. Like, yeah. She ain't gonna let you. That's what I love about her, dude. She holds you down.
Yeah, she makes sure that, like, if I set a goal for myself, or if she sees me like slipping up, even in like simple things that's not really a goal, but it's just like, hey, I'm letting myself go, or XYZ.
Mm-hmm. She's
like, hey, like, get shit together.
Yeah. And y'all met when?
We met in Germany. We met about 2.5 years after I was in Germany.
How long were you in Germany for?
Total of 4 years.
Mm-hmm. So about 2.5 years. This is after your rotation in South Korea.
Yeah. So
right?
After Korea, because I got to Germany in March of 17.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so yeah, I met her in 19.
How'd y'all meet?
We met. She was coming to the unit out of AIT, so she was coming out of Gordon, going to Germany, and that's how we met. She was slated to go to the same company I was in,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, that's how we met.
Nice. And then y'all been married for how long now?
We got married in 19.
2019.
Yeah. So
sorry,
actually, I think she got there in 18 then, because
mm-hmm.
we went through it December. So yeah, she would have got there in 18.
18.
Yeah, I think late 18.
Yeah. And your experience with that, how's that been going? As far as, so you've been, you had your first wife, you got divorced, you had a kid with her,
mm-hmm.
and then now you're on your final wife.
Yeah.
And so with, because I know in the well, from what I've heard, like in the military, that happens often. What benefits, if there are any, to, I guess, not just marriage in general, but with being married in the military? Was that like a big thing? Was that reason why, or was it just more or less like obviously like a love thing? Or
that was, so the benefits of being married in the military, for those that don't know, are if you are E5 and below, so if you are a private first class, specialist, or sergeant,
mm-hmm.
If you get married, you get what's called BAH, which is basic allowance for housing. So they give you money to basically like pay your rent with. Mm-hmm. And that's all based off of your zip code. So whatever zip code you live in, it's calculated, and they say, hey, the average rent in this area is X amount of dollars. So that's what they pay you.
Mm-hmm.
If you are, you also receive BAS, which is basic allowance for substance. And when you're in the barracks, they take $365 from you every month, and it goes towards the DFAC. And the DFAC is the dining facility. When you're in the barracks, you can go into the DFAC for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and they have food for you. Like the cooks cook it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily the greatest of food, but
you eat.
It's I'm not gonna say it's free. You're still paying for it, but it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's always there.
Mm-hmm.
But me being in when I was lower enlisted, as in E4 and below, I was a specialist and below. I was like most soldiers, I hated the barracks. I didn't like sharing. Like we'd be in a room, you know, maybe this room and another half of this room, so not a very big room.
Well, this is a huge room.
Yeah.
Nah, just playing.
But I mean, as in like for sharing it with two people, it's
Yeah.
not a lot of space. Like
Oh, absolutely not.
and
Yeah.
like even if you were to extend this room out and create the same size of it for when you're from like it's your first time out of the house like from mom and dad, like you want to become like independent. You don't want another person who may live like a slob, and that's is the case for a lot of soldiers, is that their barracks roommate, like they not the cleansiest, and not the most clean person in the world.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part of having to deal with it. And there are other options that a lot of soldiers do go towards.
Right.
Whenever, instead of getting married, a lot of them, they find people that they like, and they get an apartment together, and then they just split the rent or whatever the case is. But me, I wasn't thinking like that. I just wanted out of the barracks, fastest way, get married. And that's how I met my first wife. We met through a mutual friend when I was in AIT. We had talked for a while, and then I flew her down to Houston, and then for like 2-3 months after that, we got married. We were married from 17? No, a little bit earlier than that. I think it was like 15. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we were married from 2015 to 2018. Yeah, and then that's how we met. Was I just wanted out of barracks, and it was a win-win, because I got out of the barracks, but I also got to be with somebody that I liked, and that I ended up loving for quite a long time. And I mean, good things did come of it.
Yeah.
And I mean,
You got your first son.
yeah, got my first son.
Handsome boy.
Yeah, beautiful baby.
Beautiful.
But yeah, and then well, after we got divorced, it's when shortly after that I met my wife, and for that was like from the time I met her, like I just knew like that was the one.
Yeah.
And that one, like, it wasn't about the benefits, it wasn't about any of that. It was about like, yeah, this is the one. And oddly enough, when I was a very young kid, me and my mom were sitting in the car. I don't even remember where we were driving, but I remember having this conversation with mom, and they were talking about marriage, because we were listening to KSBJ. It's the gospel station here in Houston.
89.3.
89.3.
Yep.
And
KSBJ Houston. Yeah.
And somebody had called, and they were talking about their marriage, and that this was their second marriage, and that they were happier, and that there was nothing wrong with their first marriage, but they just weren't, I guess they weren't ready for it. And half listening to it, half staring out the window. So my mom was like, I'm gonna get married twice. I don't know why, but I just know I'm gonna get married twice. And I don't know, it just seems like younger me, like, maybe looked into the future or something. Maybe I was Raven-Symoné for a little bit, but yeah, it seems like that's it, because I definitely don't ever see myself without Lori.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't either.
Yeah.
I'd talk some sense into you if you ever tried otherwise.
Yeah.
And now you have 2 beautiful babies with them, or with her.
Yeah. Definitely.
Man, it's a lot from, and your upbringing. You didn't quite grow up in a household where it was like a normal, would you say, quote unquote normal household?
Yeah.
Either.
I grew up in a single parent household with just my mom, and yeah, I never really had a father figure, like, per se.
Right.
I had father figures that like I had my grandfather, who died when I was very young, and once he passed away, I've never really had like a strong male figure in my life. And
how old were you at that age
when he passed? I want to say I was like 5 or 6. I was pretty young.
That is young.
He took me to my first Astro game, and this was still in the Astrodome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I went to go see the Astros and the Diamondbacks. I remember falling asleep in the 5th inning. I was so young, like.
I was young. I fell asleep at many Astros games.
Yeah.
I was ready to go by like the 6th, 7th. Didn't even make the stretch.
No.
Yeah, wasting all that money.
Yeah, I remember I was like so excited. I was like screaming the whole game.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, knocked out. Yeah. He actually died. I want to say it was exactly 7 days after that game.
Wow.
Yeah. He took me to my first game, and then he passed. And yeah, that was really the only real like male figure I had in my life. Other than that, it was just like, maybe I would like see like maybe a coach or something that maybe I wanted to like try to be like, but I was young and I never like coaches, always come and go, so
Yeah.
it never really like stuck. But I also realized that I didn't finish that last part that we were just on. So yeah, I went to Germany, and then once I re-enlisted, I came back to Fort Hood, and now I'm back here again.
And that's where you're at.
That's where I'm at.
And now you're doing the warrant officer thing.
Trying to.
How many years? We haven't even said. How many years have you been in the military?
So I've been in 9 years. In July will make 10.
10. And you're re-enlisting?
Technically, no.
No.
So with warrant officers, it's not an enlistment.
Right. You said that.
And it's not technically a commission until you hit Chief Warrant Officer 2.
Okay.
So Warrant Officer 1, and so when I say warrant officer, it doesn't matter if you're a W01 or if you're a Chief Warrant Officer 2, because there's a difference between a warrant officer and a Chief Warrant Officer.
Okay.
But warrant officers, like I said, they're not enlisted, but they're not commissioned. So a W01 is technically not even in active duty. They're just on active duty orders. They're actually a part of the National Guard, I believe. And they if I get accepted and I go once I go to WACS, which is the Warrant Officer Candidate School, if I make it through the 5 weeks and I graduate, I'll get my DD-214. It'll take me out of being enlisted, and then I'll come in as a National Guard warrant officer, but I'll be put on active duty orders.
Okay.
And after 2 years, so the day I graduate WACS, which is Warrant Officer Candidate School, 2 years from that date, I'll become a Chief Warrant Officer 2. Chief Warrant Officer 2 is then commissioned. So you will then, raise your right hand and you'll commission as like an officer. And that's where it turns into like true active duty. Like you're always active. Like, it's a weird little.
You're not active.
Yeah, you're not
Okay.
not active.
So you're not out of it.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm trying to learn.
I will get like a DD-214 showing that I have gotten out of the service. But by the time I retire,
right,
when I'm 38 years old, which is kind of nice, but when I retire, I'll get a second DD-214. So I'll always have to have 2 DD-214s.
Okay. Yeah. Man, it's crazy. I still remember the day. Just crazy to think of where you're at now. I still remember the day. Like I said, we've all done our 180s. Some of us haven't, right? And we won't really go into that. But, we've done our 180s in life. And I remember the day you came over to the house. Like I said, you had those, forget which Marlboros they were, but you had.
It's probably the time where I was smoking Marlboro Reds.
No, you had. It was a black box. It was like neon.
The lights.
Lights. So you had that. And you come over to the house. We went under the tree. Back then, the tree was still at the house. Now it's not there. We had the tree. I remember I rolled up a blunt, and I was like, you told me, you said, I'm joining the military, and I'm going to be taking off. And I was like, I even asked you, like, you want to hit this? Disrespectful ass. So I was like, no kidding. And you're like, yeah. And I could even sense in you then, there was a different vision even then in your eyes of like it was just something I don't know, it just seemed like you were on a path and it just seemed different. Like you kind of had an idea of what you were going to do. And it's just so funny that we kept in touch throughout the years, but not much, even to this day. I mean, we're busy, right? But I still consider you my best friend because it's not, we're busy, but it's like, man, if I know I need something, or if I need a conversation, or if I need whatever, so a pick me up, or um, a realignment, I got my boy there. And you have made a huge change, man. And I think, with the upbringing of having a single mother raise you, which your mom is amazing. Having a single mother raise you, you go through all this anger and, frustration and confusion or competitiveness, all of this stuff. And you get to where you want to go into the military because you got to figure out, I got to do something, like looking around, which I think a lot of people can relate to, especially like some of Reno's friends, what I'm saying? Like I think Reno's like I think he's a junior, I want to say. Maybe a sophomore, junior. Horrible of me, but hey. So, and it's like, what are you about to do in life? You got all these people committing, figuring out where they're going to go, and then you decide that, I'm going to go into the military, and then just you get humbled in the military, and it starts to change your attitude. And I think we started once you came back to Fort Hood, or there was some certain points where you and I started really kicking it a lot more. I was like coming to visit or whatever. And I was like, damn, Thomas, like you changed, bro. I was like, what the hell happened? Like you totally flipped your attitude. You went from being quick to the punch, not really caring about much, being so in task oriented, to like, wait. Let's analyze the field. Let's think about all the possibilities, all the probabilities, and then let's make a conclusion. But even then, let's still analyze like another grouping, and then we'll figure out from there which one's still the best one. So your whole life of like you've just totally flipped and changed. And even now, I remember it wasn't long ago, you were talking about re-enlisting or not re-enlisting. And I don't know how that conversation went, but I'm proud of you for wanting to do the warrant officer thing and all the stuff you're trying to do, because it's just not, you're constantly growing, and there's an end game to it. You have a plan. And I think that's very important for a lot of people to realize, is that you got to get a plan together and just go for it, because some people are in our area back home are still not in that world of like grown up yet, to where they're still living life,
still doing the same thing they're doing in high school,
and then they think they're cool about it. And it's just like, dude, go get your stuff together and start, because before they know it, they're gonna be 38. And what are you gonna have set up in life? Where are you gonna be at in life? Because by then they'll start doing what you did when you were 17. Getting it all together. And I'm sure that, did you think the whole time when you were 17, 18, all the way till now, was there ever being away from family, even whenever you had your first boy, and then you divorced, you split, and all that stuff, like what's your thought process going, like, of like, man, am I doing the right thing? Should I go back home? What is there for me? Like, what was your thought process like during that time? Like, should I just give up? Am I doing the right thing?
So every time I've ever thought about getting out of the military, and when I came back to Fort Hood this time, I was in that same mindset of, I'm just going to do this next contract, and I'm just going to go ahead and get out. I was just focused on, getting certifications, that kind of thing. And then, going down to Houston, going out to Florida, wherever I could get, a good paying job and, provide.
Right.
But every time I'm in the mindset of, I think I want to get out of the military, like, I realize that, like how David Goggins says, it's really just my inner bitch talking. And that's because although there are a lot of things that are not necessarily like the easiest on you or your family, being a part of the military, such as, being away from your family, having to go out to a field for X amount of days or X amount of weeks, or having to go on a rotation and then you're gone for months, or being deployed, or whatever the case is. Yeah, that's hard, but your family's still going to be there for you. And with the military is like there's so many benefits to being in the military that people take for granted, and they think that, oh well, I can get out and go make $60,000 a year. Well, that's about what you're making right now with with your benefits. But what you're not taking into account is like you're now going to pay for health care, dental care, or find a job that's gonna provide that for you. Where in the military, I've had 3 children and I haven't had to pay a single penny for any of them. They've stayed. My first wife stayed in the hospital for 3 days, and it wasn't in a military hospital. She stayed in a civilian hospital. Stayed in there for 3 days. Not a single penny was spent. With my current wife, was we had RA here in the States. Again, 4 days I want to say in the hospital, 4 or 5 days. Yeah, 5 days because it was a C-section. And 5 days in the hospital, not a single penny. Our son was born in Landstuhl, Germany. Not a single penny. So, I mean, there's many benefits to being in the military. It's not just healthcare, but they're going to pay you. You're not getting paid big bucks. You're not, you want big bucks, you got to pick up a side hustle or something. But you're gonna get paid, decent money. If you want to get paid more money, you get promoted, or get a work towards your degree. Either
right.
There's active options to go 2 years and then go to get paid to go to school, finish those 2 years, finish your degree, and then commission, become an officer, or you can go green and gold. I want to say is the name of the changeover, but you go straight to officer after you go OCS. Actually, I think OCS is that one, and green and gold is the first one I talked about, where you get your 2 degree. You finish your first 2 years and then go to school for the last 2. And that's how you can make more money, or just get promoted and as enlisted. But you're also gonna get, like I said, housing. If you get married, even if you don't get married, once you hit staff sergeant, you're gonna get paid BAH and BAS. It's no longer taken out of your check. Like I said, medical wise, everything's paid for. I've had 2 ACL surgeries. I've never paid a single penny. Been to years of physical therapy. Never a single penny. Nothing that has ever happened to me or my family have I ever paid a single penny for. And those are some of the benefits to it. And those are something that I don't have to pay, co-pays or pay a health insurance company for.
Yeah.
That I'd have to pay outside of the military.
Yeah.
So, I might be making $65,000-$70,000 a year right now, like on paper, on my W-2, but I'm also not having to pay for a lot of things that a lot of people have to pay for.
Yeah.
And,
But even what's this been? How many years? 8 years in the military?
9.
9 years, sorry. 9 years in the military. I mean, look at somebody who went to school, right? So, and I'm not knocking anybody who goes to school, but
they touched on the benefits of the school portion, which is, I finished my associate's degree. I might have finished it years after everybody else who went to college from our, graduating class, did, but I haven't paid a single penny for my associate's degree, and I'm working on my bachelor's, and I still have not paid a single penny for it. The military covers it all. Not to mention that even when I get out, I'll still have the post 9/11 GI Bill. And then because I enlisted in Texas, I'll have the Hazelwood Act. And the Hazelwood Act pays for 120 credit hours of school. And that's from the state of Texas. And then the post 9/11 GI Bill pay for more college.
Right.
Again.
And how much debt do you get from that?
0. You pay into your I had to pay into my post 9/11 GI Bill for the first year I was in the military. But your first year, you're in basic and AIT. You're not seeing that money anyway. All your money is your time is so structured in your first year that you go to the DFAC with everybody else. You go to the for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Once you're done for the day, you're just ready to go to bed, to wake up, and rinse, repeat. And that's your first year in the military. So after that, you're done paying into it. So now you have access to it when you get out. And after 10 years in the service, you can actually transition those benefits from you to your kids. And since I'll finish my degrees and have my certifications, that's what I'll do when I retire is just transfer my educational benefits to my children. So now my kids won't have to pay anything to go to school.
Yeah.
And that's if they even want to go to school. If they want to join the military, hopefully they join, maybe the Air Force or Space Force, a little bit easier lifestyle.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they want
Which they're going to be smart kids, so I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely won't get a 104 on the GT score, that's for sure.
No. But because of that 104, they're going to have a higher one because, you know what I mean? It's not like you had it below. Yeah. That's very important. It's the educational benefits to that. You're not paying a single penny on certain things. Yeah, your income may be what it is, but really in reality, it's not exactly what it is when you start doing the actual math on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have no debt, which most people will take out a huge debt for a status to go to A&M or UT or wherever, right? And I'm not knocking it at all, but I'm just saying that now you're X amount of dollars into debt, and I'm not saying that, hey, you should have just went to the military, because it's not for everybody.
It's really not.
But what the message I'm trying to get across is, if someone is listening who is a younger person or in that kind of state of where they don't know what they want to do, these are the benefits to why, if you have no idea what you want to do with your life, because I promise you there's nothing here. It's all about what you're doing. Like, it's good. You said you had your family, right? You got your family with you, and that's pretty much all you need. The real friends are going to be there for you, and they're going to be around. They're going to make their impact in your life always. They'll always stick out throughout the years. But back home, that's why I told you, and you told me like you were thinking about getting out this recent time. I was like, Thomas, there ain't shit back home. Like, these people aren't doing, I mean, I don't know, but like, it's like, dude, there's nothing back home for you. Okay? What you're doing right now, it may seem a little whatever, but you're my boy. I'm always going to come. I'll make it to where I come see you. Shit, move back to Germany. I wish, so I can go play out there. I don't want you to, but like, I'll make it, whatever. Because you have that foundation of friends, and then you have your family. And not only that, but you have yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's what works for you and what you're wanting in life. And now it's your kids, and that's your big purpose. And you're setting all this up. And it might have been hard for a long time, because it's like, man, am I missing out on the parties? Am I missing out on the clubs? Am I missing out on, like, this or that? It's life could be.
People post on Instagram and at the time Snapchat and that kind of stuff, thinking, man, like, instead of being out in this field, staring up at the stars and just working 16 hours straight, I could have been over there doing that.
But what is that?
Yeah, for what, one night of fun, like.
And just to do the same boring thing again,
over and over again every weekend.
Unfortunately, they're going to be 38 or 40 working, and then you'd be retired choosing to work, or you'd be doing what they were doing at a younger age. And everybody's like, well, I want to do it at a young age. It's like, well, not really. These are the foundational years. Our 20s are the most rawest form of our years. And I think you and I are learning that. And before I want to get into that. What's you got that up? You've been having it up. I've been staring at it a little bit here and there. What's that about, man?
All right, so I'll show it to the camera just for
people
that are watching.
You want me to put it up to this one?
Sure.
Go ahead. You can talk about it.
All right, so this was taken a few months back, and this picture is on my Instagram. It is also on Cedric's Instagram, and Cedric's the one that posted it. And this is really the reason why I really decided I really needed to get my life together. So after my first ACL surgery, I gained a lot of weight. I was at 175 pounds before the surgery. I was running probably 2 to 5, maybe sometimes 8 miles a day. And they weren't like consecutive. A lot of them were just like, I might run 2 miles in the morning and 4 or 5 miles in the afternoon, or whatever the case was.
Yeah.
But I was like in really good shape. I was doing jiu-jitsu every day. And so I looked good. I was like real thin. And after the surgery, I got like really down and like on myself, because like the pain I felt from the surgery itself, like it was awful. Like I I wouldn't wish that mental like hardship on anyone. Like, and that might sound weak for the people that have gone through ACL surgery and that kind of stuff, but my ACL surgery, at least for me, was really hard on me mentally. I didn't like that. Like, it was hard for me to get up. I was also given, to be fair, I was also given some instructions that weren't correct. I was told that not to move my leg after the surgery until I had my first physical therapist appointment, which was 10 days after my surgery. And it came out later that I was actually supposed to be moving my leg the day after surgery. I was supposed to already start trying to move and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I had my leg locked out at, a straight lockout in a brace for 10 straight days, and that caused some damage to the knee. I still, even to this day, I cannot fully straighten it out, and I can't fully bend it all the way back anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I gained a lot of weight, ate a lot, and now like eating was my way of like finding comfort. As soon as I would just like, I didn't want to do it. Like, as soon as I felt like I just didn't want to do anything, I just wanted to like just relax, whatever, I'd go eat like an entire box of mac and cheese or something. Like, it would, like, my calorie intake was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I would get like the I don't know what the brand is, but it's like the tub of icing, for like cakes.
Yeah.
And I could just sit there and eat the tub of icing while I was like playing video games or something.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, I got ridiculously good at video games. However, like, I was getting ridiculously fat. And as I was like starting to get further and further away from my surgery, starting to get back to being able to run. That's actually about the time this picture was taken. That was about that was January 2nd, 2021. So that was shortly before my second ACL surgery. And
Crazy. January 2nd?
yeah.
Wow. That's 2 years tomorrow.
Yeah. Dang.
Right?
Yeah.
It's funny how life has changed. I remember just looking at that photo, I remember where we were in life
Yeah.
at that time. Go ahead.
And yeah, so that was about a time where I really was able to finally start getting into like actually running again, not just like the physical therapist of saying, run for 4 minutes, walk for 6 minutes. Like, I was doing 10-minute intervals, where it's like, I would try to progressively get to more running than walking.
Yeah, no, I remember. Actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, didn't we run that week when you came?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was living at the apartment at that time, that one apartment, and I was like, hey, come over, we'll do 2 miles.
Yeah.
And I remember, because you told me you gave me this cool thing that I use now, where your physical trainer, you said that would put their hand behind your lower back and kind of get you to push, to feel like you have this forward press going on. And it was so funny because we're running these 2 miles, and you and I are just competitive as all get out. That's why I love you, dude, because it's always just talking mess. And
those are the hardest 2 miles of my life, honestly, because
you were kicking it.
I was pushing myself to every extent that I possibly had, because I did not want for you to beat me, and I didn't want it to be like, damn, like, I'm a mile in and I really want to stop, because like my knee is actually like truly hurting me. Yeah. And you're just over here like, damn, like, this dude fucking sucks.
No, yeah, it was so funny because I was trying to pace that thing, and I was trying to pace it, and then you I noticed you were picking up, you're almost like trailing, like leaving me behind, and I was like, in my head I was thinking, ain't no way I'm gonna let he's got his ACL after ACL surgery.
I had my knee brace on during the
Yes, you did. And I was like, there's no way in hell I'm about to let him. So I was like, all right, I'm turning it on. And so I had to. And then I think we walked it in after that, and we ended up doing those sprints from light pole to light pole. You try to give me those military workouts, and I was like, that was honestly
my way of like being able to catch my breath.
Those are intense.
Yeah,
those are intense. But so. Yeah, wow, January 2nd, 2021.
Yeah, so that's short. Taking a few months before my second ACL surgery. Yeah. Like I said, like we went out to that dinner, and when you took that picture, and when you like, I didn't see the picture when you took it. So whenever you posted it, I saw it, and the only like I didn't look at my wife, I didn't look at you, I looked at myself, and all I saw was like how fat my face looked. And I was just like, wow, like, you have really let yourself go. And, like, this is not okay. One, it's not okay for one being in the military, but then two, it's not okay because like this isn't healthy. Like you went from I could run 2 miles in 14 minutes. I could hold a 7-minute pace. Like at one point, I was doing that, and that's because like I was running every single day. I was doing jujitsu. Like I could do that. Well, then in that picture, no way I could do that. And when I saw that, I was like, hey, like I have to like get my life together. And because of that picture, like I've started to like really push myself physically to, get back into like consistent running. And then it turned from just consistent running to, all right, like now let's find out like what your limitations are. And when I say limitations, it's not like physical limitations. It's more of how far can you go? Like truly.
Yeah.
That's why when you called me when I was in Florida a couple of days ago on Tuesday, or actually it was Monday, you called me and you asked me like, oh, like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm just in Florida chilling, that kind of stuff. You're like, oh, well, I haven't seen you pop up on the workout.
Yeah, I asked you how is the warrant officer thing going because I hadn't heard from it, and you were like, "Oh, it's going good." Well, it started with a text too. It was like, I'm just waiting on the whatever. Hopefully, I get it. And I was like, "No, you will get it." And then I was like, because I know there's a fitness portion to it, and I remember you said that you were training for it and you're getting ready for it, and you're on leave, and you're on leave now, and I hadn't seen it, so So I hadn't seen your because we share our fitness, we share our activity on our Apple Watches with each other. So for those that don't have an Apple Watch and you have an iPhone, if you have an iPhone, highly recommend it. Get an Apple Watch because if you're looking to get into fitness, that's what I use it for, and you can share it with your friends who also have Apple Watches. And whenever you complete a workout, it tells you, hey, Thomas just finished a 5-mile run or a 4-mile run, or he just finished a outdoor workout, or he just finished golfing, or for me, right? Like whatever it is. So I call, you got a cat in here? Boy, I don't know what the thing fell. So I called you and was checking in on you like I usually do here and there. And what happened?
Yeah, so you called me and basically checked me. You were just like, hey, like.
Wasn't trying to. Yeah. I wasn't trying to.
Because, like the week before I went on leave, like I was really active in running.
You were.
I was running.
I know.
Like 4 miles a day.
I know. I heard.
And,
I saw it.
I posted, I was talking about like, hey, like it's for walks prep, that kind of thing. And I hadn't ran in a few days. And when I was in Florida, like you said, you gave me the call and you were like, hey, like I know you said you were getting ready for walks, but I haven't seen you in a couple of days. Like what's going on?
Yep.
And then you were like, well, we start a competition on the watch it because you can do like the 7-day challenge things on the Apple Watches.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, like this is what I need to, get back out there. Like, I'm on leave, but like David Goggins says, like no one cares. Like time doesn't care that today's Christmas or today's New Year's or whatever the case is. Like time doesn't care. It's still going to go on. So you might as well make the most of it. So I was like, you know what? Let's do it. So I sent you the 7-day challenge, and the next morning, it was Tuesday morning, I went out for a little. I initially only had planned on doing a 4-mile run around the airfield I was in Florida. So I ran around, and I was holding like a 10:30 pace, just trying to keep it like light and easy, and just holding that pace. Got to the 4-mile marker, and I was just like, you're good, like turn around. And so I was like, let's do it. Like I've never ran anything over 5 miles consecutively. So I turned around and was like, I'm gonna run the same route the other way. Ran the whole started running, and I got to mile 5 and I was like, all right, hey, like you're still good, like. And since you had just told me you're doing it's the resolution run.
Yeah. 10K.
Yeah.
6 miles, 6.2.
During our conversation on Monday, he had told me he was doing this 10K. And
I had been putting in 40, 50-mile weeks already.
Yeah. And because he told me he was doing this 10K, I was like, oh, well, that's a 6.2. And I didn't remember what day he told me he was going to run this 10K. So I was like, oh, whenever I come down to Houston, we'll go for a run, and we'll run the 6.2. So as I was on mile 5, I was going towards mile 6, and I was like, oh, okay, you know what? I'll just I'll hit the 6.2 marker, and then I'll just, start bringing my heart rate down and just walk it back. Well, I hit the 6.2, and I was like, you're okay. Like, you're starting to feel it. Your knees are starting to ache a little bit. Feet starting to hurt.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I just got to go down to that corner, and then from that corner, go down to the other corner, and then a little, like, quarter-mile stretch back to the house. And I was like, well, let's just make it to the end of the street. We'll hit mile 7, and, we'll walk from there. We'll hit mile 7, and I was like, you're still good. So I was like, let's just finish it out. So I ran all the way back to the house, hit my 8 miles, and, yeah, I was proud of myself, but I was also kind of like, when I say disappointed, I don't mean as in, like that I could have did more, but I was disappointed in myself that, like, I had never, like, put myself into those deep waters. Kind of like how David Goggins, again, like, talks about in his books, where if you never put yourself into those deep waters of knowing what you can and can't do, then when it's time to actually put yourself in there, like, you're gonna start doubting yourself, and you're not gonna continue. You're not gonna finish it.
Yeah, if you don't prepare for battle, when battle comes your way and it's going to,
you're not ready.
Yeah, you're not ready.
Yeah.
You gotta prepare yourself because you prepare yourself, not because something else is coming. You do the groundwork because that's gonna come. Yeah, it's so funny when you had sent. I had seen. I think you sent me a screenshot of it.
I did.
I forget what I was doing. I don't know if I was even running at that time. I may have been driving or running. Don't know which one. Either way, I laughed so hard. I was like, this guy. Like, I was like, it's so funny. You actually went and ran. When we got off the phone, you actually went and ran that day too.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you actually went and ran that day, and I think the next day you even went and ran that.
Yeah.
That 8 mile.
When we got off the phone, that's when I did the
4 miles.
My first 4. It was the 4 miles.
Yeah, you went 4 miles that Monday, and then Tuesday you go run that 8. And I just laughed hard. I was like, because I think that day, because that Monday I had just pulled off. I just did 9 miles, and then the next day I was doing 5, and then it was gonna be 8 the next, and then whatever. And so I got the text message, and I was like, this guy, I love it because it's just so funny. I love seeing it because it's just our relationship, man. Yeah. It's always been like that. Like, it's even if like we go golf alone, it's like, hey man, by the way, I shot this, or like it's like try to lower our scores if we're there. You know what I mean? Like if we're competing against each other.
That's how we're always like, hey, like you have like 123 yards to the pin.
Yeah.
I got like 118. Yeah, I might have a few less yards, but I got $5, so I'll be closer.
Yeah, yeah. Just talking mess. I think it's so healthy, man. When you get to that, you get in that relationship where
find somebody that helps drive you.
Yeah, not only just your wife or a significant other, but outside of that, even inside of that, like the family, like with your kids, let that be your driving force. You know what I'm saying? You want to be healthy. Had you had continued that route, you were going to die probably at an early age due to all that unhealthiness, because you want to be able to see like your kids, you know what I'm saying? Like you want to be a longevity life. I hear a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to live into that long, but it's like that is such a negative way to live life.
Where here comes the day that you actually do have to pass. Like you're laying on your deathbed, and you do have a significant other, and you do have kids there, and you're like, man, I really wish I still had more time with you.
Yeah, I wish I would have put in. And you're 80 years old, or you're, let's say, even 70. Yeah, I wish I would have lived a healthier lifestyle because I probably could kick in another 10, 15 years, and I don't want to lose out on this time.
Exactly.
I want more time. That's what we all want. We want more time. We're on borrowed time, but we always want more time. But it was just funny, man, because you sent me that, and that kicked me in to obviously keep pushing with my stuff because I'm like, oh, Thomas is coming, and Thomas always comes. You always come for me. It's so funny, and it keeps me going. And it's funny. We did our Spartan race last year together, and
my first one.
My first one too.
Yeah.
And then we signed up. We have one coming up in March. Which March is our second one.
Well,
we have 2 of them.
We have technically 3.
That weekend.
Mudder, and then we have 2 from
the following
Spartan
week.
Race,
yeah. So Tough Mudder is in Austin the week before, and then we in Houston the following weekend, the 5K and then the 10K. Yeah, 10K and then 5K. Was it 10K Saturday and then 5K Sunday?
Sunday, yeah.
So, if y'all want to join, let us know.
Yeah.
Reach out to, reach out to me or reach out to Thomas, and then we'll send you the invite, and that way you can come run with us if you're trying to challenge yourself this year.
Yeah.
Just do the 5K. It's 20 obstacles. It's a Spartan race, 3 miles. We'll pace it with you.
Yeah.
No pushing. But it requires
It's not
you
about the pace, it's about the completion.
about getting it done, and then just building off of that, right? And but it's also about the friendship. It's about the camaraderie. It's about pushing.
That like runner's high you get after finishing the race is
it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Like you can't,
like today.
no amount of no drugs, no alcohol has ever made me feel as good as it did when I finished that 5K.
Yeah. Maybe other than the birth of your children. Obviously, but I get what you say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't. It's a euphoric, like you get it's like a shot of huge adrenaline.
Yeah.
And the whole time though, during it, you're just like, I love that Spartan beginning whenever he said, today you will be mentally, spiritually, and your body, spirit, and your mind, whatever, all of it is going to be challenged to a degree. Look to the person to the left of you, to the right of you. They will be and it's just like, and he's hyping you up.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so true because that's what we went through.
Yeah.
It was just like, man, how the hell am I going to get through this obstacle? And then what's the next one? And then you're approaching another obstacle and you're like,
I remember
I gotta
carrying
pick up
the 35
there you
pound
go.
bag
On your back?
on my back
Yeah.
up the hill.
Yeah.
And I remember like, man, I cannot wait for this to be over. Like I hated every.
I can see it on your face.
I hated every step. And the worst part about it is like, because the trails were really narrow.
Yeah, they
like
were.
you couldn't control your own pace. You had to go off of whoever was in front of you. So if they were like going extremely slow, it only made it worse for you.
Yeah, because you couldn't speed through it.
Yeah.
Which I remember we ran into that road bump. It was like 3 chicks, and I was just like, can y'all move?
And you remember where they stopped the first time was at the steepest part of
the hill. Yes.
And there was like the rocks that you had to like climb up on, they were only like maybe 2-3 inches like wide. Or like for you to step on.
Yeah, it wasn't.
So both of us standing there on these 2 to 3 inch rocks with this 35-pound bag on your back, and this is like maybe 2 miles into the race already, so you're already tired.
Yeah.
And I remember it's like just standing there, we're just like, please go, please take a step, and they would just stand there with the bags, and they're not moving, but they're just standing there. And I know like they're tired and they're trying to like rest and like so that way they have the energy to finish.
Absolutely.
But it was just like, because we had to stand there and have the same like please go.
Yeah.
Like when I finally was able to put that bag down, I was like, man, like I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I'm just gassed.
So after this marathon that I'm doing in a couple of weeks, because right now I'm like stupid, like I'd say stupid skinny, but dude, I lost 20 pounds in a month.
Hey,
I don't know if you know that, but I did. I was at 186 in November, and now I'm down to 167. I weighed it the other day.
That's my goal for January, or what you started at was
186.
Yeah, or really it's 185 because
I'll make sure
there's a weird number like 186.
I'll make sure you get there.
Yeah,
we'll get there. And just just like how you came, I want to, before I go into it, it's so crazy because you ran last week on Tuesday. Well, Monday 4 miles, 2 miles. 8 miles on Tuesday. Then you drive from Florida here to Houston, 9-hour drive, 8-hour drive. But not only that, 8-hour drive is cool, but when you're dealing with having traffic and Louisiana I-10 traffic, and then you have all this rain and stuff that you went through where you're going 40 miles an hour, can't see nothing past your windshield and only the white line, and it makes it that more stressful. And you got kids. I guess people who travel with kids can obviously understand that. I travel with dogs, so I understand that you got to pull off. Kids. You got to pull off a lot, let them pee, then you got to go pee, and then I'm telling you, like, hey man, I called you the day before and I was like, you gonna be in town? I was like, yeah. I was like, dude, I'm running 16 miles tomorrow. I would love it if you could just pace me with the bike. I got a bike, and you know, I would like it if, you know, if you could just pace me, be in front of me, and I'll just, you know, pace me out. And you were
So,
like,
this phone call that you're talking about,
yeah.
I had just got to the Texas border.
Mm-hmm.
I had already went through Alabama, went through Mississippi, went through Louisiana, and I was at the Texas border. I called you when I got to the border.
Yeah.
And this is where you tell me what you're about to tell me.
Yeah, I was like, I was like telling you, can you pace me on that bike? And you were like, no, actually, I'll run it with you. And I was like, I almost like looked at the phone like, huh? And because you had just told me like pretty much 8 miles was one of the longest runs you've ever pulled off, like in a one setting,
Yeah,
right?
It was the longest, yeah.
And so I'm thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, we're talking about doubling this, you know, most miles that he's ever ran in his life within less than a week, after driving. Anyone who's drove a more than 4-hour drive understands how exhausting that is. It's like flying on a plane. You get you're just jet lagged. Yeah. So
not to mention, I was not drinking water because I didn't want to have to stop and pee.
Yeah, exactly, right. So then I'm like, man, I'm asking a lot. It's not even asking a lot. It's his choice. So, you get in, I forget, in the evening time, and I'm thinking, I'm doing the math, and I'm like, man, he's gonna get in the evening time, and
got here about 6 p.m.
Yeah, and I'm like, dang, he's gonna die down, and then have to wake up at 6 o'clock, get to my house by 7:30, or yeah, by 7, and then I'm just thinking like, that's just asking a lot out of this guy, and I'm like, hey, he said yeah, he committed. I trust your word all the time because you never really gave me any reason not to. So I'm like, I know Tom is gonna be there. Just don't know how that 16 miles is gonna go. So
I didn't either.
We didn't actually. Both of us didn't. So, you know, you get here at 7, right on the dot, if not before, and I'm still getting dressed, and you know, I just pretty much got up, and I'm getting dressed, and I'm going through the motions of just like, quite honestly, I was nervous. And I was actually tired. I went out the night before and was bowling, and I was my active recovery day. So I had just golfed the day before, and then now I'm bowling. I'm trying to get my muscles loosened because I'm on like mile 30 by now, 32 for the week, and I'm tired myself, man. Mm-hmm. And we get to going, man. We get to going, and we did the first 4.5, which, by the way, it was like a Spartan race because of all the water and trails that we had to run around and run through. And then, you know, we go 4 miles down, 4 miles back. We're talking the whole time, pacing it out really well. Mm-hmm. And I was shocked. I was like, damn, it seems like Thomas does this. You've done it before, it seemed like, right? And I'm just thinking like, and I think it was helpful because we were just kind of distracting each other. Yeah. But I'm not going to lie, for a little bit there, I wish I was talking, because when I was talking, I wasn't thinking. Mm-hmm. And then whenever you were talking, I was like, damn, I'm thinking about this run. And I was like, I wish I could talk right now because it seems easier whenever I talk, right? So then I'm thinking, well, I wonder what he's thinking right now. But then I'm also thinking, well, I can't not show out in front of Thomas because, you know, I'm the one doing this, and I've been training for this, and he hasn't, and there's no way in hell I'm gonna have somebody who doesn't train show me out. So I'm gonna have to show him. And then, but it's a camaraderie thing of like, nah, it's my boy too, and I'm not trying to defeat him. You know, because he's here, I don't even know if I could. I would have been able to do it, but you made it that much more easier on me. And you understood my goal. I had told you, I said, I want to run this 12-minute pace, give or take 30 seconds over or under the whole time. And at times you were trying to lead the pace a little bit more and go a little bit quicker.
Push you at 11:30.
You're trying to push me 11:30, 11, and I was just like being very stubborn to that 12, just steady. And anyways, we get back to the crib, we replenish real quick, head back out. And that's when the race began.
Yeah.
I think the race didn't. Yeah, the race began pretty much then because
the first 8 seemed like that was
a breeze.
Like it was just like a
2
like
mile
a walk in the park.
It felt like a 2 mile run.
Yeah,
like real easy. Yeah, but then when we took that break and we went to that 8, as soon as we started that 8, I could feel it in my legs. Like, okay,
yeah,
they're screaming. This is gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, my knees started like really aching. My calf started getting really tight. I was hurting.
Yeah, I knew you were, and so it was just funny. So to fast forward it, we could fast forward it to like mile 13 or 14. We'll go to 14, right?
Yeah.
So at mile 14, 2 miles left to finish the 16 for the day. We had just walked a mile because we agreed on 13 we were gonna walk the mile and then run the last 2.
Walk the mile to make sure you can hold the same pace all the way through for the last 2 miles.
For the last 2, that was the game plan, and we're sticking to the game plan. Even though I wanted to run through it, it was the game plan. Like, this is what we're doing.
Practice the game day.
Right, and so I was like, all right. Well, when we get to mile 14, we go to take those few steps, and out of the corner of my eye, I see you hop, and it shocked me. It scared the hell out of me because I was like, damn, not me, but like, he got hurt. And then you told me like, hey, I'm cramping. Like, if I keep going, this isn't going to work, But I was proud of you because I know you said that you were upset, but I was proud of you because, that's not easy, bro. You literally would 4 miles last week on Monday, then 8, and now you're trying to double your stuff. But it just showing your mental of how determined and dedicated you're trying to be from what you showed me. You know what I'm saying? And that's what drives you, is like, I don't want to be that. And if it means me being out here or having a friend or someone who's gonna drive me to be that, and I just finished running, you had every reason to be like, I just finished a 8-hour drive. I'm exhausted. Then I'm gonna have to drive back to Hood, and that's gonna be a 3-hour, 4-hour drive, and I want to spend time with family and friends. And then it's just like,
not to mention that. So I got here on Thursday. We ran on Friday.
Exactly, the next day.
Yeah. So we ran on Friday. Well, I went to bed that night around like 9-10 o'clock, and I woke up multiple times throughout the night. Most people with kids understand, like, you're gonna wake up multiple times throughout the night. Well, here comes 3 o'clock. And 3 o'clock hit, and I don't know what happened. I just could not go back to sleep. I could get comfortable, but for some reason, just could not go to sleep. So I'm up from 3 all the way until it was 6:20, and I was like, all right, this is what time I have to leave. That way I can be at SES by 6:50.
Yeah.
Because if I'm here by 6:50, then if you're already ready to go at 7, you can do your stretch out, and we'll go. So I left, and the entire time I'm like, man, this is gonna be a tough one. I've never ran this far ever. Never, before Tuesday, I had never run anything over 5 miles. So I just ran 8, and then 3 days later, or Wednesday, Thursday, 3 days later, I'm trying to run 16. And when we got to mile 14, I started to run that mile. Started to run from 14 to 15. At that mile point, and when I felt both, I felt the right one try to cramp up first, and I let go. And I felt the left calf try to cramp up, and then let go. But I could just feel how it just felt like the muscles were just tightening harder and harder and harder. And I was like the next cramp is gonna be the big one where I'm gonna have to stretch it out. I'm not gonna be able to do it. And I was like, hey, it's not gonna be good for us. I'm not gonna be able to finish. So,
right.
I like I told you, go ahead and finish. This is your run. And the entire time I walked back, cause I told you, it's you were like, hey, I can pick you up in the truck, and I was like, no. I was like, I'll walk until my legs cramp.
That was my favorite thing, because I gave you a hug, and I was just like, and just because this is how I am, man. It took everything in me to hold back crying or having tears of joy come out of just my relationship with you, of what you mean to me as a person, to have you involved in my life. I mean, it just means so much. And I was like, this dude's out here, He don't have to be out here. I could have been doing this shit myself. And he's here to not only for his intentions, but to support me in what I'm doing. And it meant a lot. And that's why I gave you a hug. I was like, man, I'm proud of you. Like, fuck that. Like what you're saying about you're disappointed. You should have finished it out or whatever. It's like, nah, man, take some pride in that. And then just do your inventory on like the run. And now let's lead up to it and work our way up to that 16 again, to where now 16 doesn't seem that difficult. And so when you gave me the green light to go, I went, and when I asked you, I said, I can go get the truck and speed home, get the truck and come back and get you. You're like, nah, I'm not going to.
I'll walk up my legs.
I'm going to walk home. And I was like, bet, he's that determined. So I run home and I finish out my 16, and I was like, because like in Goggins' book, he said his pacer wanted to run like a 50 miler. And so he finished the race, goes back out into the track and gets him. So, but I always used to do that. Even when we used to do bear crawls in like school and stuff, if I finished out my 100 and then like, I'm not going to say the people's names, but the bigger kids, they would be doing their bear crawls or their snakes and they'd be dying. I'd run to the very end with them and finish it out with them. Like, come on, bro, like, let's get it. Right. So I was like, I know what he's going through. I know mentally. So let me get this body armor. Let me get the fit aid, the battery acid. Yeah. Get this battery acid and go meet him out there. And then something told me, nah, grab the keys and go pick him up. Like, you should. Like, he's tired. He's cramping. Don't make him. You've been in that position. Because I was in that position. I stopped at mile 13 one time too. And I had an Uber come pick me up. And it was like 30 miles per hour wind outside. It was cold as hell. My gloves were all wet. My beanie was all wet. It was all just cold and just disgusting. I quit. And I knew what that did to me. And that's what went through my thought process. But I got the drinks and I came running back and we walked it in. And, it's so funny when I took off, it just made me think of like, that's our life and that's our relationship. We're in two different, same mind state, two different worlds, two different seasons, two different relationships, however you look at it. It's like with you already have your family established. You have a wife established, a great one, amazing one. You have amazing, beautiful children. You're already in that season. I haven't even started that race, right? Me on a fitness journey, I'm already starting that race. I've already kicked that into overdrive. But as I'm helping you or you're helping, like I'm helping you in that sense, but not even just as we're matching our mentality. Well, whenever I decide to have a family, I'm looking over at like how you do with your family, and it's going to kick me into drive to be that good man or to be that good, father to my children or something like that. And so I was thinking, it's just so funny because it's like, well, go ahead, Sed. I'm not going to hold you back. And then I'd say the same to you. Thomas, don't come back to Houston. Like, I even said I'd love to have you back in Houston because we'd be doing this stuff all the time.
Every day.
Running. Different. You probably would have ran the 10K with me today. Like all this stuff. But it's like, no, man, you have your own life to live. I have my own life to live. I'm going to support you and be there as much as I can from you from a distance. But like, that's just what you have to embody and get into your circle. Does it align with what you're trying to do in life? Are they helping you out in life? Are they healthy to your life? Are your friends dragging you down in life? And if they are, doesn't mean cut them off, but maybe have a conversation with them of like, hey man, because they're going to mean a lot to you. They're your friends, but like, how do we get better? Are you really happy? Like, what do we do to start helping each other out? Because, no matter how you look at it, yeah, we're in different races, but we're in the same race together. And it's like, let's finish this race out together. And, yeah, I couldn't have picked you up because I told you, I said, well, you screwed up because you told me not to. Otherwise, if you hadn't told me not to, I would have took it upon myself to come pick you up. But you said, nah. You know who I felt talking to me? Old Thomas from like 8 years old, because you were so emotional at that time, and I was like, I love that dude. I miss old Thomas because like, man, that was such a youth answer. Because he was like, nah, don't get the truck. I'm gonna finish this out. I'm like, dude, my guy, you're like limping back home. Like,
and that's what I was gonna say is like, if like looking back on it now and after talking through everything so far,
Yeah.
I've realized that me being disappointed in myself like that was the old me coming back out, which was I demanded everything from myself.
Yeah.
So knowing that like I've never even attempted anything that far for a run, and then not doing it, being disappointed in myself, that's that old me coming back out of like, there's no excuse. Like if you can't do this, then why do you think you're gonna make any like? How do you think you're gonna be able to run a marathon eventually?
If you can't run this 16 a day with Cedric, you're gonna go back to looking like that.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. And that's so funny that you realize that, because I think that is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, man, you did it, bro. You did 16 more than anybody else did that day.
Yeah, I remember. I remember from once I started walking till when we made it back to the house. I remember every step of those 2 miles. I hated everything.
Yeah.
I hated just thinking about like, oh man, I gotta take this, and I gotta move my left foot, and I gotta move my right foot. I hated every step. I hated every second of it. And I remember thinking like, man, I only have to go, 1.1 more miles.
Mm-hmm.
Like looking down the road, like, okay, I just have to make it to that stop sign. I can make this left. Well, every step from there just seemed like it got progressively worse and worse and worse and harder.
Yeah.
And everything was just like, man, just sit down, rest. And then, 5-10 minutes from now, get up and you can just walk it there. And I was like, I want to, and I thought about it so many times, but I was just like, no, just when you sit down, by the time you're able to get back up, you're not gonna want to get back up.
Yeah, or you could already have been there.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. I was like, by the time you get up, and it's 10-15 minutes from now, you could already been back at the house.
You could already been there.
Yeah, and then they could have sat down, stretched everything out,
been completely recovered,
been okay.
Just keep pushing yourself.
And not to mention, the very next day you go run your 10K
today.
And today.
Because I ran 17 yesterday, and then today I go run the 10K. But before I get into that, it was just, it's awesome that you realize that, because that's what you start all this for. You're not starting it to look good. It just naturally, like I've said, it comes with the human body of science of how our body works when you burn calories and you work out. It's just the good looking body comes, right? Or whatever good looking means to you. But the skinniness, the fitness, it all comes, right? But you said earlier it was the mentality. It was just your mental, what you were doing it for. And now it threw you back into a world being on mile 14, cramping and stuff, that I'm back in this mental state of how did mile 14 running send me back to what we're 10 years ago, or even almost 20 years ago when I was 8. Like, how did that happen? And we talked about while we were running, my running with thoughts. Whenever I talked to my notes, you told me like there's some crazy thoughts that go through your head when you're running. And it's just so funny that it made you realize that. But had you had not, and put yourself in those suffering states, you would have never have even thought that, man, that person's still there. I mean, you probably know he's still there, but it's just like, wow, this suffering that I just put myself through, this tough 14-mile run after already running my, trying to double my most miles I've ever run in my life in one day or one sitting, is sending me back to that. And then it's like, well, no, this is some people are going to take it two ways. One, either I don't like that, I'm not going to do it no more. It's like, hey, I realize it put me there, and I don't want to go back to that. I want to keep running that. I want to keep running that demon away. Like I'm gonna kill that demon out of me, and push it out of me. And I think that's what we're doing this year. That's what 2023 is about. Yeah. That's why I did today. Today I was running, and I didn't feel good. When I woke up, I was everything in me procrastinating to get out of bed, and I was like, you said you're gonna do it. And your family probably thinks you're not going to go run this run. You didn't go out for New Year's. You stayed at home for New Year's. You were trying to get to sleep before, and you didn't go drink. You don't drink, but like what are you going to do? You're going to put up or shut up. Yeah. Thomas is going to text you tomorrow. You just ran 17, you ain't got to do it. And then it's just like, well, how do you want your year to go? And then screw the whole New Year thing. Like, I've been doing this before. Couple months before. Do you want to it doesn't matter, like I've said, these podcasts don't matter if I don't keep doing them. These efforts don't matter. I should have never even started it in the first place. You know, like, why did I even start?
Yeah.
You know, and it was, I took off at that starting line, and it started with the casual, let's just finish it and get through it. But I'm like, nah, man, it's 2023, dude. It is a new year. Let's put that in that mind state. How do you want to finish out this year? And it's like, or finish out the year already on day one. How do you want to finish out the year?
Mm-hmm.
How are we starting this? And it's like, I'm finishing this year by testing my limits. And what came into my head was the run with you. And you told me, Cedric, you still had some in the tank at mile, I think, 12 before we stopped on that last mile. I think I pushed like an 11-minute pace.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then even on that 14th mile, when you gave me the green light, I got to a 10-minute something pace. I think 10:49 under 11 pace. And so you're like, you still have it in the tank. And I get what you're doing. You're pacing it out for the full marathon, but you got it in you.
Yeah.
And those thoughts started playing in my head.
But this is game day.
It's game day. So yeah, so it's like, okay, so this is today, this morning, I'm running and I'm on like 1.5 miles out of the 6. And I'm like, I'm seeing these people pass me. And then this voice in my head is just constantly saying, Cedric, you got a lot in you, bro. What are you made of? This is competition. That's why I did it today, because I wanted to put myself in a competition environment before I get to the no matter how, because I could have done the 5K, because I knew I was going to do the 17 before, but to finish out my 50-mile week, I neted to do 6 miles. Yeah, I needed the 10K. Funny how it works.
Yeah.
So I signed up for that 10K, and 1.5 miles, I see these people passing me that, no offense, shouldn't be passing me. And I'm like, nah, this ain't happening. I'm going to catch them. And so I took off. I hadn't told you this part, but I ran, you go back and look at my fitness activity, I ran 5 miles in an hour, maybe like 5.3 or 4 at the most in an hour, because I'm doing that pace, that 12-minute pace. I was just trying to run for a straight hour. I was trying to get myself used to running for a straight hour and 30 minutes, because that's what the 8 miles is subsequently. It's 8 miles for me right now at that pace. And then I was going to walk, and then another hour 30 straight jogging, and then walk. And then I'm trying to systematically get it right for this particular race. Is what I'm doing. And then, so I had never done 6 miles, which 6 miles at a 10-minute pace is 1 hour, right? And yours, like, said, your voice is in my head. I haven't picked up yet. And your voice is in my head said you could pull off a 10-minute pace easily. You
got the gas in the tank.
You can empty you got some gas in the tank. You can empty that, like, And I was thinking, you know what? I'm about to prove that shit. Like, let's go. So I picked up the pace, bro. Then I hear because one of them said 10-minute 30 seconds. Well, the first one was 9:46, and then it was like 10:37 or something like that. And then that's when it started kicking in. And then I was like, I did the next one, and it was like 9:50. And I was like, well, still 10 seconds off, like, because of I got to get it back to 10 and then go under, right? Man, I started booking it. And then as I'm booking it, I know they can hear my feet coming. So as I'm trailing them, I played a game, and it took me back to whenever I used to run daily. And I used to run at Strawberry Park, the mile. And what I used to play a game was Catch the Rabbit. So the rabbit was whoever was in front of me, no matter how far you were in front of me. If you were if you were half a mile in front of me and I could see you, I'm going to catch you. And so it was Catch the Rabbit all over again. And so I started it went from catching up to 2 dudes that had their shirt off. I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to let those guys beat me. And then a guy in a lime green shirt, and it was just the most pettiest shit in the world, because I was like, I hate that shirt on you. Like, and it's pissing me off seeing you in front of me. So I want to pass you up, and only I can wear lime green or whatever. Like, I had like these stupid, very petty competitive thoughts coming in my head.
Gotta hit him with that David Goggins right off the shoulder pass.
Cedric was coming out, bro, and he was there. He was live and well. And then there was like, this is how it goes, man. There was like this old lady in front of me. I was like, hell no, I ain't gonna. so it was just like, said, there's more. I get what you're doing. There's a pace, but there's more in you than you think. And you tell everybody to dig deeper into yourself and to find more within yourself. You're not even doing it right now yourself. You are, because you're doing a marathon in itself is going to be a great accomplishment, but this is right now. Let's be in the present. That's 2 weeks from now. Can you get through this and push this pace without injuring yourself? Yes, I can. Okay, as long as you don't injure yourself, it's okay to go ahead and be that dumbass, like pretty much right now. And so I took off, and after I passed the lime green shirt guy and the old lady, it came to, can you pass up 10 people? And then it was like, I passed up those 10, and then I seen another fresh 10, and I was like, let's pass up them 10. And then it just went from there, and then we finished by then. But it was pretty cool, man. It was a good experience of like just pushing and getting it done and doing what you're saying. Yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. So Tom, dude, I appreciate you coming on, dude. So, if somebody is wanting to get into the military, they have any military questions, where can they reach you at? And like on Instagram, what's your Instagram tag?
So on Instagram, my handle is dadbod.bjj. So just DADBOD period BJJ.
Dadbod.
BJJ.
Yeah. And what are some questions that you can answer for them if they have any?
If you have questions about joining the military, if you don't want to talk to a recruiter, like going into an office, like if you don't want to feel the pressure or anything like that, recruiters are trained not to pressure you in any way. However, if you don't want to talk to a recruiter because you just want to, just put some further questions out, you can hit me up on Instagram. You can, if you have me on Facebook, whatever, name's Thomas Morgan, you can message me on there. If you want to message me personally, you can reach out to Sed, and he can give you my number.
Yeah.
And you can feel free to ask me whatever you like. Again, have 9 years of experience. I'm going on year 10. Been there. I've done most of it.
Yeah.
I've been around the world, again, for free. And the Army does pay for your family to go around the world with you.
And you have education?
Have education, medical, and everything else. I know earlier I did talk about having some toxic leadership, but it's not always just like that. One of the leaders that, as you said, how you were talking about earlier, where you saw that I went from, being like basically single task minded to being able to analyze multiple outcomes at one point and then picking the best one. That actually came from one of the leaders. I've had it in the military, and it's from my first unit at the time. It was Captain Brian Marquez. He is now a major, and he's doing great things.
Awesome.
Shout out to him. But there are great leaders in the military that will take care of you, not just personally, but they can help you in many ways, whether it's mentally, physically, whether it's emotionally, whether you need to help mature more. Like, there are leaders there, and everyone as a leader is trained to mentor, train, and develop. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of our thing as being non-commissioned officers and just leaders in general. Mm-hmm. But if you do have questions, feel free to reach out. I can answer whatever you like or whatever you have questions about. And if I can't, then I will find someone who does have that answer, and I will get that answer for you. Yeah. Other than that, I think the only thing I would want to say is remember, life, like we've been talking about, life is a race, but it's not about the pace. It's about completion. Set your goals. Make sure you do the right things to be able to obtain those goals. Don't just set a goal saying I want to be a millionaire. I want to hit it by the end of the year, but then you don't set up the precursor steps to get there. Right. There are some some tasks that have to be completed before you can just become a millionaire. It's not just like, hey, I'm just going to do the same thing I've been doing for the last 5 years and I'm just going to be a millionaire by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. So make sure that you set goals for yourself. Make sure you can set up the steps that you need to be able to hit those goals, and don't give up on yourself. Yeah, talk to somebody who's already been there or has done it to get an idea of how to do so. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. Being in the military has opened my eyes to a lot of mental health issues that we have, not just across the military force, but overall in normal civilian education or civilian life itself. 22 veterans a day normally kill themselves. So if you ever have any mental health issues, please reach out to somebody. Somebody will always be there for you. Not just if you're a veteran, but anybody in general. There's always help out there. Make sure you get the help that you need. And
Yeah, man. Thank you for that. And
glory be to God.
yeah, glory be to God. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, dude. I really, honestly, it's a true pleasure and honor to have you in my life and to have you on and to call you a friend.
Yeah, I love you, brother.
Yeah, I love you too, man. And just because you ran, like I said, you came from Florida, come here, we do the running together, then you make the time. I mean, you're leaving what, tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow morning.
Leaving tomorrow morning. And you could be with your family right now, but you're choosing to come here, and it just shows the true friendship that you have and just the true person you are, the good friend that you are, man. I really appreciate you and value you and love you, brother.
Yeah, love you too, brother.
And
I value our friendship more than you know.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I look forward to this year, man. It's gonna be a good one. You're the first episode of the year, and it was a good one. And yeah, y'all reach out to him if y'all have any questions. Thomas is a great man, and thanks, brother.
I appreciate it.
Love you, dude.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
Now we guys got to do that marathon together.
Yeah.
You got to
thank
do
y'all.
the outro.
Yeah.
Do the outro.
Almost forgot. Thank y'all for watching. Love yourself so you could go love someone else. All right. I almost forgot it.